Hey Dennis, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Please introduce our next guest.
Alright, we're rolling. You're gonna do a fun for us? Very good. Okay, so hello, welcome. Here we have in our studio today, we have Anna Konjetzky, artist, choreographer, researcher. Is that how you would describe yourself?
I can live with all three words very well.
What good
I do
words
live
there.
with all three words very well, actually.
Very good. Yeah, just before we started rolling, we were talking about this intersection of different worlds and work. Yeah, could you tell me a bit about how your work often doesn't just fit into one box or one label, but also translates to different mediums?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like how as you use three words, and I agreed to take these three words, I think actually that tells already a little bit, maybe sometimes also about the difficulty, which box to take. But actually, I think more for me of the interest, how different contexts inform each other, and how I think also, for example, the part of the researching became more and more important. Next to, I really love to do pieces and works, and so I will not stop that. But as a counterbalance, or it's not a counter actually, it's more maybe it's a foundation of it, I don't know. But because I think what for me in the research process is different is that you can sometimes get very different dialogues because you meet in different momentums, you meet in different roles, you meet in different a different context with other artists. And I think also this testing, I think that is one of the main things. I think also that is the great thing of art in general, that it can actually test. I think I used to say always that I do think that it is, like doing art or this kind of art is kind of an ongoing research on society, including all the pieces you do. I don't know, but it's not, it is an ongoing research. So to focus more on that research part seemed important.
Okay, so it's a constant research process, I guess. The research and then the creation period, and it's constantly feeding into each other.
Yeah, also because I think it's like basically I'm permanently busy. It's also not now I just premiered a piece, so cool. I'm on a break. Unfortunately, these kind of breaks don't work because in the mind and the body and perceiving the world and myself in the world. So I think it's a permanent questioning how to deal with things, and when something feels a necessity to talk about or to try to understand it or to experience it or to share it. And so therefore then, depending what occupies me, I feel the need to talk about, to try to work with the body about, to try to create something, so it finds different kind of ways through me and through forms.
Nice. And what's traveling through you right now? What are you busy digesting?
Indeed, I'm a lot digesting, as we just had premiered 2 weeks with Songs of Absence, and I kind of still feel a very warm glow. It was a really, especially, I did a lot of pieces already, and that was a magical group, really. It was a very, very beautiful group to work with, so I feel really a warm glow. And there's also something, I just said now on the train with Sergei, the composer, for that piece we had a call, because we did this kind of an album, so to say, with songs, and the idea is a little bit beside that piece as an entire album to perform, hopefully a lot, that we gonna take it apart and put in different contexts. And so we talked about maybe doing a few songs together with some, it's not songs, pieces, and then music pieces in a different context. And I find that, for example, also this context hopping very interesting, because it's very different,
exactly.
Now, even if it's songs, it was within a theater dance festival, and so people come, even if it's written album and songs with references to music, but still they very clearly also come from an interest to watch dance. And for example, to having this in a now we talked this morning about a context of really music, of contemporary classical music, so there is a very different context where the people that come also will listen and watch and all perceive this in a very different way. So
I think it's amazing, this almost genre hopping and this crossover where the boundaries are not so clear. So it's a dance piece, I guess, essentially, but it's also branching out into a Spotify playlist or an album as well.
It is 22nd today. We got the date. 22nd is the release date.
Oh, fantastic! Look at that. Here we go.
Is that
Hot off the press.
No, sorry, but it was really today in the talk.
Oh,
It's
okay.
again, what is this morning? The 22nd. It is.
Okay, yeah. Is this something that interests you to, break out of maybe the strict structure of how to define something?
I don't know if it's about how to define. I think it's more. I think it's generally actually important that we get out of our bubbles, and so that yes, I'm very interested. But I think it's not so much because the disciplines that got put together, I think they're anyway sometimes questionable.
Yeah.
I think it just helps sometimes to change context because other people might get attracted through it or people get access to it, and so I find it interesting to open the dialogue in different zones or to. This is also one of the reasons, for example, I have done a few pieces for young audience, and with two actually, we went quite a bit also in schools, which is such a non-academic art context, especially when you go to different schools. And I think that is part, I couldn't do that always, but there's one part that I find so enriching because it's like you feel this, you are out of your bubble and you talk about the body, you negotiate the body in society in a very different way, in a very different context. And so, I think it's more this, how can we get out of our bubbles, our bubbles. I think on one also to use it to understand what is our bubble and from where actually do we talk, from where do we act, from where, what is our position, so to say. If we are always just in our bubbles, that can get very reinforcing and we feel good and it's very comfortable. But I think this,
it's very easy to remain there. But maybe it's good to help identify and as an entry point, but then to maybe subvert that or to break it open. Like, for example, maybe someone came seeing Anna Konjetzky dance show, and you enter trying, maybe knowing what you're going to see, but of course then you get live music and it branches off into something else. So I think it's good to maybe keep refreshing ourselves. Also, like you said, young audiences, and if something has that label, doesn't mean it's not also accessible for older people. It can be a very rewarding and enriching thing to perform and also to see.
Totally. I think it's also, that's what I mean. I find sometimes the separation also stupid because they put hierarchies, they put expectations,
and like importance as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this you see in fundings, like for example, young audience is much less funded. That's why I'm not so, I'm not so sure if that is always good to separate because in the end of the day, for example, I think it's also really interesting if I think back, for example, to when I was a kid in the first maybe shows I saw or concerts I hear. I think maybe I could not now because I saw a lot name necessarily what is the first, but I remember some, I have memories and so that it matters actually also.
Yeah, it's so important to have access to this as a kid. Yeah, tell me about maybe how you started. If you're talking about Anna Konjetzky as a child and your connection to performing arts, was it always something were you a creative child? Yeah,
but I think I grew up really in this a bit cliche academic arty family. It was mainly about music, to be honest. I still also think. No, I know why I like there's one part of me I think always in my next life. If I get one, I will do this music.
Okay. Well, there's hopefully still time. There's still time
no,
left.
I think I'm also okay. I'm very happy with what I do. It's not it's not. And I'm also somehow I'm very realistic in that sense. I know that I did a lot of music, and I really really love music, and I listen to a lot of music. But I can do a lot of with a lot of instruments a little bit. But and I had the feeling, for example, for me it was very clear. There's a certain loneliness, for example, in practicing an instrument. That I'm not gonna make. There's something I really enjoy also in my work. The social aspect, that I share a lot of my time with other people, with other people's thoughts, with other people's bodies, so that is something very. And even I think it's not necessarily that we always work collectively. In some of the choreographies, you still have very clear roles, but it's always a shared momentum. It's always sharing thoughts, and it's always dealing together with something, and I think this dealing together with something is the same why I like live performance. That it's the same what we have in a process that we have then with the audience. Like that, it's watching or listening together. Something is not everybody isolated, and these collective momentum, I think, is a very important part for me. So I'm very good where I am.
Okay. Otherwise, you have to join a band, maybe, not be a solo artist. I think this is something, Dennis and I were talking a bit about lately. It seems to be coming up a lot, this the importance of a collective or a shared goal, less of a hierarchical thing. Because it can be a lonely process in your art or in your work sometimes. Yeah, I don't know if it's a post-COVID thing or if it's just a...
No, I think it depends. Maybe I can say I think it's also one of the reasons why, for example, in my freelance, which is the main part, sometimes I work also for state or city companies, but the most part I do freelance, and there is some quite some artists I work really for a very long time with, a very regular and not of course there's Sarah that is kind of my artist twin, and also Quinn that I work with since very long time, but there's also, like, for example, Sergei Meingart, the composer, that did also, I think there was our 11th collaboration. So I know it. This so exactly.
Yes, I think the first piece we ever recorded of yours was with Sergei. It was back in Saarländische Staatstheater.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And with him, for example, I have done both. I have done some city-state theaters, like working with companies, and have done a lot of freelance, also a different context. So, and this, for example, there's other people also, like that. I have really a longer collaboration, and there's something I really enjoy in that. Like, of course, because if you find people you enjoy working with and enjoy developing within a similar universe together, that is just pleasurable.
Yeah, it's a joy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like
sometimes it's work. Sometimes you have to, work with people it's a great thing. It must be wonderful to have this almost unspoken understanding where you can pick up again and work on different projects with the same people.
Totally. Yeah, and I think also, for example, I'm very lucky. This is also we have this playground studio in Munich that we do by 4. So it's Sarah Quinn, I, and Susanne Schneider.
Mm-hmm.
And having, for example, that studio also as a possibility to do quick tryout sometimes, or just me to discuss something. Or I think tryout is one of the main things that has become super important. And I think also a main part for a lot of the last pieces I did, I started quite early on to do mini tests to understand just if some of the ideas on all level, not just on the movement level, for example, if I think the last piece I did before Hopeless, this construction, that is really kind of came out of a long process of trying out different materials, of what kind of netting can work. We tried nets, we tried ropes, until we find the security belt thing, then which kind of height makes sense, how even the material, then we tried different ways where it should be stitched together.
You need time for this.
Exactly, but this just works if you have really, you do a test and then you let it sink, and then you do a test and you're like, so that is really enjoyable also to have that possibility. Yeah,
playground's a good way to define this thing here. Maybe you can share a bit of information about some of these other projects you have, because going through your website and your there's a lot, and it's amazing. I think you seem like someone who's very inspired, always creative, always busy, and you're involved in many different things. So could you share a bit about some of these? There's also this nomadic project, which sounds super fascinating.
Yeah. It's true. I think probably sometimes I'm also over motivated with my time, but then it gives me so much joy and energy that somehow you always make it through. I think one beside the works and pieces I do, one of the important project is the Playground Studio that we have since 2019, and it came out of like a desire really to have a research space and a space for dialogue, so a dialogue and exchange, so to say. And the idea was, of course, then first COVID, because you opened in September 19, so a great start.
Great.
But it saved us also through the pandemic. So, but of course, certain things then took a while to come back. But it was the idea, and that is something, for example, that we have also in the Nomadic Academy. That was a 4 years with now research project, and that will also continue in different forms. this principle of not thinking of finalities, but to go in exchange and dialogue on different moments all the way through, so to say. And so that there's something, so for example, what we do in the playground, basically we have, beside internal stuff, we have a few regular and irregular formats. Like one is that we have once a month, it's called Training for Everybody. I'm still sometimes struggling with that term, because it's always everybody. Is it really everybody? We try. But that is a training, and very clearly not a technical dance training, but it comes from the idea to sharing what we are busy in the research that we are doing at this point, and that can be a training for, I don't know, for thinking or for imagination or for moving. So it but it's for everybody. It doesn't need to. You don't need to have any dancing knowledge, so to say.
It's a creative resource or outlet to play and to.
Yeah, it can, because we have, I think, or it comes, of course, there's one part I'm really, that is a bit of an obsession. I really like to develop trainings. I find it because we have trainings, we have such a amount of trainings for example, muscles. I really love doing this, but then we have no training to think outside of the box. We have no training for imagination. We have no training to go backwards. We have no training to leap in thoughts, or I don't know, whatever, or abstract thinking, which are so important things. I think not just in art, I think for our society.
Wow, it's amazing.
Or questioning norms or whatever, and so these development trainings is really an obsession, and then to share that.
It's so refreshing to speak to you and hear how curious you are still, and you're still so hungry and inquisitive and curious. It's amazing.
But I feel if I would not be, then I find it too tiring. It's that I think that is the only motor I have. If I don't have this curiosity, then it's too tiring.
It becomes really like work, and then instead of play and curiosity and joy. Yeah, how are we doing, Dennis?
Good.
You want to pass by or anything? You check?
No, it's
fine. Okay. All right. Yeah, we were talking a bit about, we've touched upon a lot. You have worked in many different sectors, so freelance and then sometimes state theatres and younger audiences as well. And maybe tell me a bit about some of these experiences.
I mean, I find it super refreshing, and somehow also I feel very lucky that I have the opportunity to jump different contexts and sometimes be tourist in different contexts, because I think, I mean, already, of course, also in a still also precarious freelance work, it's sometimes nice to have different standing points, very concretely. But I think more I find it super if you, for example, if I very stupidly like thinking of choreography now, working for state or city theaters and working freelance, they both have something that they can, and they both have some things that they can't, kind of thing. And so I find it very refreshing sometimes to enjoy one or the other. And of course, there's something, for example, if I think of working for a company, for example, for me, the plus points that are definitely already, most of the time before it's already clear, okay, it's going to be shown these 12 days are fixed, that is not like that in the freelance, in all, like in the most, that's already something I find really enjoyable, is knowing that is a piece that is going to live, not, I would say all my last pieces, I was really lucky, they get shown quite a bit, but it's a different approach, it's a different always, also you need to search out for this possibility to show it's a different work, and that is having just so after the premiere then the sort of process begins of trying to give it a life and to get it out there, which is also what we're saying, that documentation or the visual aspect has become very, very important, more so than before. Yeah, totally. And of course there's then something, for example, that case, the nice thing that these states exist already, so to say. The less nice thing for me is I'm most of the time not there, so the life is without me.
Right.
Because which is totally fine, but this also is there something I really enjoy seeing the ripening of a piece. Not that I think I think we always try to be ready, so to say, at the premiere, but I think you can't even, as you each time revisit it, you can't even stop, because you look then after a year, you look from a different point, you revisit while being busy maybe with something totally different. And I think that is such a amazing also learning process to revisit your own pieces. And I can definitely say that all pieces that for mine, for example, that have been shown more, they are better, and not necessarily because they were better, I think, at the start. I mean, there's a tasting, but because they it's like a wine. I don't know.
Exactly. No, I think it's fascinating as well to see this evolution. I think you can only enrich the piece.
Totally. And also, again, that is, of course, also different. For example, very often for the state theaters, it's not necessarily that they travel with it. There's a few of the comedies that do, but majority, I would say, not so much. Yeah. So mostly, for example, I stay with my number 12. I don't know why I have this in mind.
Okay.
So it's, of course, also always in the same city, in the same theater. And that is, of course, also, again, a very different thing than, for example, if I think, for example, let's take the anger piece. I think we did it now 20 times and probably in 15 different cities, because very often it's in a festival where it gets shown once.
Yeah. So, is it something you have to take into consideration when you're making a work? The fact that, okay, the piece Hopeless, you have a very dominant structure on stage. So, but as in other cases, do you try to keep flexible to increase the chances of you being able to perform it or travel it around?
That is a difficult question because
I guess you don't want to inhibit your creativity either.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to create something for a market, because my starting point is I'm busy with a topic, or I'm busy with an urgency to deal with something or to negotiate something. So, and then it finds somehow also the form it needs. For example, already for me, there's a whole questioning sometimes, does it need a frontal audience, or is it something that needs actually, I have done pieces with a moving audience, so to say, with an audience all around, or with so that is all part for me of the negotiation of the topic, or what makes sense for that, what is, how many dancers, etc., etc. So there's one thing, I don't try to think of a market, but of course there's already just a storage question, not how we don't have the kind of storage that some city or state theaters have. So I have a storage, but you are anyway busy with how is it built or how is it done that you can.
Practical questions. I see.
And I think it's also interesting, maybe also more and more to think of the essence of certain things and how to stay flexible. For example, if I go back to the Songs of Absence, I find extremely refreshing this thought that we can just take a single song out. We gonna try to do it what we did with another piece, that if you go somewhere, we not necessarily go with the whole original cast, but just with half, and then working with, let's say,
the
3
form
local dancers.
can change, it can adapt and evolve. Okay, lovely.
But that it doesn't work also for that here, for example, in that work, I have thought it from the start, so that is something that I'm interested in. But for some, if you mentioned the Hopeless, there's, without the netting, there's not much left.
It's very hard to hang yourself. Yes. Great. So what's inspiring you at the moment?
Inspiring in this period. That is inspiring has had such a positive
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I think it's more, I could not answer what inspires me, because I find it is not an easy period. But I think there's a lot that keeps me busy, or that keeps me wanting to negotiate. And I think definitely, for example, that comes back to this collectivity, the need that we negotiate bodies together, and that we share the knowledge and the awareness of other realities and other perceptions. I think that is a huge thing at the moment. And I think on a general scale, there is for sure the question of feminism, that or the feministic look into the world that is I wear feminist glasses, so to say, and I don't want to take them off, because I
Very
find
good.
I think it's for me, within feminism, it's so the construction of gender already is such an issue, and is such a problematic, and it's so there's so much that we need to debuild and talk about. And of course then you have that whole zone that keeps me busy, and that goes totally within the removing to a right wing development. There's of course the whole the queer the queer aspect that is, I think, very much linked to it. There's all the questions, of gender inequality, and that for me, of course, in that it meets any kind of inequality and injustice. So it's also all question of racism and classicism is like all the isms are kind of in it. Yeah, I think that is most of. That's why it sounds always a bit so stupid, or like as a. When I say I do socio-political work, but that for me indeed is the base. That also for me, I see the body is a contemporary body, and it's really anchored and deeply. Every pore is filled with the society the body lives in. So
it's a reflection of today and where we are right now as well. So it can't be separated.
No, and it needs a lot of debuilding, I think, and unfolding. So that I think that is my main occupation.
Beautiful. Well said. So we were just talking about some of the core aspects of your work, I guess. Maybe some foundations, if you like. One of them being
the real foundation, a cat. I need maybe to mention if you like that.
That's very important. We start from the most important foundation.
That's true, because then after I feel bad that I talk about everything but not about cats. Now that is said, it's okay.
I think now you've opened a door here. We need to walk through it. Cats are very important to you.
Cats and music is it's hard to beat.
Okay, this is
then
the
after
top.
a while we can talk about the rest.
Okay.
So let's talk about the rest, because I think.
All right, it's good we've given them some mention, but this is very helpful to get an idea of who you are. So there we go. Here we go. We're learning some details here. Can you tell us about this one? Who is this?
This is my Lilia. No, because then I'm gonna try. It was a cat we had for 20 years, and she died in January with 20 and a half, and she was everything to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know she got very old, and I should have been prepared, but I think there was one very naive part of me that thought she is gonna live forever because I need her.
Mm-hmm.
But she is unreplaceable, and that's why she's. But we have
there.
2 new cats.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I'm sorry. Dennis, can you bring a tissue, please? But it's a beautiful reminder and a beautiful place to have.
It's a drawing from Sarah. She looked really like this, and because especially with COVID, like I spent it. She was quite old. I spent it thank you very much. Like kind of it's more for the makeup, it's like although I'm not very good with anyway. Yeah, so I was a lot really also physically. She was lying on me all the time. I didn't have breakfast in the last year anymore. Sitting, she was always.
Oh wow! Okay. So there's a physical contact as well, and a memory in the body. So,
but I really do enjoy. I mean, she was very special, and she was really my hero, my soulmate, my everything. But in general, cats are really important.
Here we go. So now we're discovering the foundations. Okay, so we also have music and cats and feminism.
Mm-hmm. Goes very well together, actually.
Yes, I think so. A queer perspective or a queer aspect. And inequality. So are these basically informing your starting points or some of your concepts?
Yeah, I do think. I mean, I'm never thinking like, so what could I work on? I think this is in general busy perceiving the world and being in that world and the in general topics. And I think, and I'm reading a lot and watching a lot and listening a lot. And then there's a moment things do like click out. So when it feels like, okay, that is something I actually want to talk about publicly, because I think there's a very different thing of like things I might be busy with, but I'm not necessarily wanting to talk about that, still it's a public proposal or public discord, whatever we do. So
do you ever feel like it gets to a point where you have to talk about it, if it becomes a topic that clicks into place, as you say, that you need to express it in some way through some form?
I think it's more, then I get excited, then I want to talk about it. So for doing pieces, for example, it's more that I think that there is the moment I really feel like, I want to talk about it. But I think it's more in daily life, Sarah Ahmed, researcher, scholar, writer that I very much admire and read nearly everything. She talks about she has established the killjoy, the feminist killjoy, and I think that is a role that I can identify with these. And I do think that we need to speak up more. And this is a practice to trying to, because I think we are so used to okay, somebody does in a training where like a silly joke is, and like, okay, we are so trained, like, okay, come on, let's, and I think, no, let's not let it pass.
Not pass it.
Say it, but it's not always easy, and depending, it's not always easy because sometimes this context of power, of family, of like fixed structure that's not easy to break, and sometimes also you're tired and you cannot, because it's tiring to take the role on. But in that sense, if you ask if there's moments I feel I need to talk about, I think there's something, this witnessing bullshit and injustice and like sexism, racism, whatever, I feel the obligation to talk.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I think in your last work you had a lovely way of presenting these topics in a very humorous way. And so there's many different ways of tackling it. I thought that was a very very fun one when you were talking a bit about the role of a
Belgian chocolate.
Belgian chocolate as well. This is a very nice way to talk about exploitation, but also about feminism and being labelled a female choreographer, being given that title, or a female athlete, for example. So it's a nice way to.
I think there is so much. I think I find it always crazy still how there is so much you don't realize and we just swallow. Like, I mean, and it is like I can still sometimes me using the generic masculine. Do we say this in English?
The masculine form.
Yeah, like of things, and like for example in German things like, how is that possible? But because we got trained like that, like, and it's such a we need to detrain that, and we need to change it, and we need to do. I'm really pro all gender.
Absolutely.
I mean, language is alive. Like it needs. Like I find it's also crazy sometimes.
It is alive, and it is evolving, and it's such a simple thing to deconstruct as well. Even changing the title of the master bedroom or such simple things, just to subtly shift things in our brain that we can open up these limits we put on ourselves.
And that is exactly, for example, the same for the body. Like I think also, I mean, that's what I mean if I think of the contemporary body, or why I'm interested in contemporary dance rather than classical dance, because I think that also the way how we negotiate bodies, how we move, which bodies move, like in which relation to each other, we need to negotiate this. And I think this direct perception like of bodies is so strong that we need to use that tool, like I think, and both by doing it, I think for the people doing it, like, and for the people watching it. So I think that is the same than language, like there is so much that gets negotiated, and I think I'm sometimes also frustrated still to see that there is so much of a certain stereotype that still can maintain in dance, like, or that you see again and again.
These like tropes that are constantly put up on stage. Yeah, I think there are big shifts happening, and I guess it still takes time to deconstruct and to challenge.
It's so also not that I have because also I have no solution. I'm just also trying. It's not. It's otherwise it sounds if I would do, like I don't mean that at all.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't come across at that. Also, I think it's super beneficial for everyone to hear different stories. I saw a show in a recent festival about motherhood and connection to generations and giving birth, and whether that's a choice of yours or not. And I was speaking with someone, and they were almost worried that the show was too restrictive. And I said, absolutely not. I found it fascinating and inspiring, and I wanted to hear about a story of someone approaching menopause and the doubt and the humor and the struggles they had. It was relatable and inspiring, and it's more stories, more diverse topics, and I think we can only gain from this.
Totally, most definitely, and taking certain things out of the niche, because we have also the thing of like in everything, in movies and literature and with everything, that certain things get called in a certain niche that is for certain people, and then there is certain stories that apparently are for everybody, and I think that is such a
that's right.
It's so stupid, because it's like, of course, then for example, as a queer person, of course I learn. I watched also all Hollywood bullshit, but you learn to watch, for example, just love, and it doesn't matter, like, so you can be like it. Who is in it, because you cannot always identify, so you build it on your own, and that should be the same. You don't need to be, let's say, a gay man to watch a gay love story.
No,
it's
absolutely.
just love, like, so that's what it's about. But it still has a niche. And this is not just about queer, but it could be what.
Absolutely, it's a good example for many other things as well. All right. What's next for you? Let's go to the here and now. And what's on your radar? What's
But on
coming
the
up?
radar, I'm very enjoying to be here. But yeah, I'm just here
Absolutely.
because actually something got cancelled.
Okay.
Because we would have been right now actually in Lebanon with about Enkelpiece über die Wut, and was working with some local dancers. Hopefully it will get postponed, but in the current situation, there's no flights and there's no possibility. So that would have been on the radar, and which I find, for example, something maybe is a good example of things I really like to do. For example, this going somewhere with a piece, but then also having the possibility to work or to exchange with local artists. I find
Beautiful.
very, 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 very important, very enriching to not just go somewhere, deliver your thing, and then you probably go with your crew having a drink in a bar. You know, like that is.
I think also the process would be important part of this, or not necessarily the result, but just the exchange and having such different perspectives come together.
Yeah, and even I think even also for the perception of the piece, for example, being able, normally, for example, it's not always that you have the chance after to talk with an audience. Not everybody comes up to you and say something. But for example, then if you get to know people and they have watched it or they will watch it, so it's a different. Then you talk about it. So it's also will hear also more. For example, also feedback concretely on the piece we're gonna show there. So that is something I really, it's because it's something we have this also sometimes done in very small thing. For example, with the Enker piece, I remember we did it in a German town where we had first a workshop, and then we showed the piece, and it was so nice because a lot of the people from the workshop after the show then came to us because I think you have met, so then you dare to talk, because I would also not just go up to the dancer or choreographer.
It's less of a barrier somehow.
And that it's so nice because it is, of course, not about, it's not about it's so nice having compliments, but it's actually so nice. It was also a lot longer talks, like about what it triggered, or then we talked about anger or feminism, I don't know, and that is not always the case. So that is so this combination sometimes I find very nice.
Wonderful, yeah. So it's more of an exchange, less of an audience member fearing to approach maybe someone who makes it work.
Yeah, and very often, for example, because there is a lot of these Publikumsgespräche, but they're not, depending if it is these Podiumsgespräche with a moderator, and then there's a few questions, but it's also me, I can get shy when I need to stand up and having a microphone and asking a question, so it's not my thing.
Yeah, lovely. And talking about the here and now, what are you listening to right now, and what are you reading, and what are you watching?
I'm reading I'm reading at the moment 2 books. It's not that I normally both are on dance dramatics, so to say. I read the last book from Jonathan Burrows, who will come also to the playground for a gathering in January. So it's writing on dance.
Okay, we'll look it up. I didn't give you any time to prepare.
2022, and I read parallel, so to say. And then I got Lex from Jeroen Peters, the Belgian dance dramaturg. So they both have something non-linear talking about dance and dance dramaturgy. Okay,
so we chose, Dennis, you chose the right art for the middle here. So we have some dance dramaturgy here as well.
But it's not that I always read, because I read, we say quite a lot of in sociology or feminist books, but right now that is what I'm reading.
Yeah, it was just curious where you are right now, and what are you sort of, what's circling around and watching? Are you indulging in a nice series or anything? Or? I'm
not so into series, I must say. Each time I try after 2 or 3 rounds, I'm watching sports. I'm really
That's
embarrassed
good.
to say that. I really love watching sports.
Did you watch the World Cup, the Women's World Cup?
I did.
It was fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
Well, not actually, but it was a huge
success,
and it really united our country. That was amazing to see.
But I also watch right now for tennis, for example. I love to watch, but this very often you cannot watch because I have no TV actually, and I have no all kind of athletics,
Great.
I think there's something of this borrowing emotion, this tension that is from, as a very tense person, it's very good, this kind of being able to outsource the tension.
Yes.
It's very relaxing for me. Because then
it's interesting.
You kind of, but I think it's also really, for example, I think on a film aspect, there is some of the most amazing slow motions from sports. That is incredible.
Yes.
Like, for example, runners, if you look sometimes, the movement of muscles or the face is incredible.
Yes.
So I find it also very, actually aesthetic also. Yeah, so, but actually also I'm reading, it's not true, we we have the 2 last days. Quinn has because I was a bit low energy. Has read to us, which is very nice. I haven't experienced this in a long while, and she
Oh, that's nice.
Page book from Elliot Page.
Oh, I've read it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I find it actually a perfect book to be read to not read it yourself, to be read.
Well, that's a nice thought because it's very much from one person's perspective.
Yeah.
It's really told in this monologue type approach, and it's wonderful. Oh, I would love to have that book read to me. It's a nice.
It's
thing.
very nice. I can yesterday because we all couldn't somehow sleep. I think she read like maybe 5 chapters to us. I don't know.
Great!
It was amazing.
Yes, beautiful. Anna, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It was very nice.
We could keep talking.
It's also nice to meet you out of the filming behind your camera.
Yes,
I think.
always,
you're still behind, but a bit less.
It's always so rushed and so fast, and it's nice to actually sit down when no one has things to do and pressures and lots of stress. So,
true.
Yeah.
But it was very
all
nice.
the very best, and we hope to see more of you.
I hope to see you soon.
Great. Thank you very much. One more applause.
Yoo-hoo, and